guys enjoyed that really cool video of Elmcreek, the upcoming USA map in Farm Sim 22. My name is Jake, otherwise known as TheFormalPickle. I'm a Giants ambassador, and today we are going to be breaking down the map trailer, if you will, that Giants released to try and point out anything that you may have missed your first time seeing it. Now, I will not be covering every single little detail, as that would make this video 40+ minutes long, but I will be pointing out very notable things that I want to touch on. The very first thing that I want to touch on is the shot of the water tower here overlooking the land. We can notice that you can see things for a very long distance, and you can see things that are very small in detail for a very long distance. For example, from this view, we can see the power lines running to that farm over there. We do notice a decrease in quality of the trees from the ones up front compared to the ones far away, but even still, they look really, really good. And finally, just detail on the actual water tower itself. We can see some rust, we can see paint chipping, and we can see just dirt and debris kind of on the water tower. Moving on to the shot of the main strip through town. This is shot from near the gas station, which I believe was a Phillips 66 knockoff. I think it was something 42. This is essentially Route 42. It might even been Route 42, as that sign, I think, might just say that. But right next to that is a diner that reminds me of Dairy Queen, which is really, really cool. We do have some homes and stuff like that behind there. Also, to the left of the diner, we have what appears to be an interstate system with a billboard of some sort, as well as we can see the fencing for some sort of property just beyond the interstate. So it's really cool that we can see these assets that far away. But I do want to point out that we may have noticed the car driving on the road, but did you notice the person walking into the diner? Just a small little neat detail I noticed. What I really wanted to point out here was the really cool triangle style intersection. I'm not exactly sure what you would call them, but they happen all the time in the country because we have a lot of imperfect intersections. So this one, as you can see, is branched off into two different ways to go, with the center of it being kind of open. There's a tree in it. That actually is really, really common in rural areas, so I thought it was really cool to see that. This is one of my favorite shots out of the whole thing. So here we have a corn maze that we can see right here. I'm theorizing that this corn maze only shows up around the end of the year. It'll be a seasonal thing. So the signs and the corn itself will only appear, let's call it around September, October area. We also have the corn maze rules, and I can't quite make out what that says. We'll zoom in on it and try and figure out what it says, but we may or may not be able to read that. I do want to note that we can see this corn is kind of tasseling a little bit, which is very cool. We can also see that the lower part of the stalks of the corn are starting to turn over while the upper part are still green. So we're kind of seeing that transition process. Very, very cool. I also really like, if we try and zoom in on the root structure here, I really like how that looks. That looks a lot more legitimate. The corn, each one looks like an individual plant instead of like previously they were just kind of PNGs, laid inside of each other 3 or so times to try and make it look like it was 3D. This looks like it's an actual plant. It's probably still just PNGs or something kind of textured, like layered on top of each other. Maybe it isn't. I really don't know. Long story short, they look a lot better. Also, we can't go on from this picture without noting the perfect barn find barn. We've got trees and foliage growing up within it. We've got holes in the roof. We've got holes in its side. I mean, just an absolutely beautiful old barn. This shot is very, very cool of this cave system with kind of the walkway that you can kind of walk down here and take a look at. Very good spot for recreational, just enjoyment. I do like that Giants have done a good job of focusing on more than just farming. It kind of makes it a full role play, a full-fledged map for you to do about anything you want to do. But what I want to point out here is the detail on the railing. Look at this. We can see each board individually. We can see each board is different in its texture. The grain of the wood, the knot locations, all of that is different. We can also see the bolts used to piece this railing together. Very, very well detailed. I can't ignore this shot because of the obvious really cool watchtower, again, near the barn that we were talking about earlier. But what I want to point out here is something that I did not realize. There are 2 water towers. The entire time that we've seen stuff from Elmcreek, I've been under the assumption that there was one singular cool water tower. There's actually 2 replicated water towers that we can see from this shot right here. This shot, once again, very cool. We have the windmill that's actually not running in the background. We've got the bridge and the hills, and I assume a creek running through here. We have an industrial style building next to these other buildings. But what I want to point out are the road signs just down that highway. If we zoom in a little bit, we see that they are orange in color, which makes me believe that they are road construction signs. So it begs the question, does this road have road construction further ahead around that bend? I could be wrong, and they could be just regular old signs, but generally that color is for road construction, at least here in the United States. This shot here, I don't have a whole lot to talk about. What I want to talk about is the barn. Of course, we have the trailer that we all know and love. It looks to me like that's some sort of header trailer or some sort of piece of equipment. I could be completely wrong, and it could literally just be vegetation fooling me, but that looks like some sort of equipment in front of the barn. There's nothing necessarily hidden in this shot, but if you didn't know it already, there are deer in Farming Simulator 22. Now, I will go ahead and burst your bubble. As far as I know, you cannot hunt the deer, but I'm sure modders will put in some way to try and at least make it feel like you're hunting. But what I do want to point out here is that the leaves are not one specific color. So we can see this is the stage of changing to fall because we have a mixture of green and yellow or green and orange leaves here. So that's very cool to see that not all the leaves lose their chlorophyll at the exact same time, that they're losing their color as time progresses, and we see that kind of mixture in the leaves. I think that is an improvement based off of the original photos we saw of seasons, so I have to give Giants props for that. Now we've made it into a forested area, and what I want to point out here is the difference of vegetation on the ground. This is something we started to see, I believe, in Elmcreek, however you may pronounce it, and I'm glad that we see it here. We've got these fern-style I almost called them buildings, plants on the ground. We do have it kind of sparse and, you know, in vegetation. It's not super thick in some areas. In some areas, it is thick grass. We've got little trees growing up as well. So overall, very cool to see. What I want to talk about in this shot is the power lines. I want to talk about the shadows of the power lines specifically. But as we can see, the thin detail is very well done, especially not only on the power lines, but on the shadows of the power lines. That is a huge compliment to Giants in how they've done their lighting and their shadows. Also, I just have to laugh at the fact that this hill has a sign that tells everyone that there's a hill there. This shot is very, very beautiful. We've got a building up here in the front left, probably some sort of resource building for the lake. We've got some docks out towards the middle. We've got a little sign there that I'll try to read, and I believe a water access point right here. But guys, there you have it. That's my breakdown of the Elmcreek trailer. Let me know what you guys enjoyed seeing the most out of this trailer in the comments down below. Let me know if I missed anything that you thought was really, really interesting. Again, I tried my best not to comment on things that were up front or like obvious or, you know, clearly the focus of the photo. I was trying to dive more into the background, into the hidden elements, and just point out some smaller little things. Not really a whole lot to see that was not known, but some stuff that is good to note. But yeah, I'm very excited for Farm Sim 22. We are less than 1 month away of November 22nd is when it will release. I hope you guys enjoyed our little overview of the Elmcreek map. And until next time, my name is Jake, and I'll see you all later. Thanks for watching.
Can you picture you and me in the darkness? Kissing, touching. Kill the lights, I'm your assassin. No sleep breaking. Every inch of my skin's missing